Bosh.
There we go. Right, over to you, sir.
Right, okay. Now this is a bit of a weird one for the channel, isn't it? We've never done a podcast before. I've never watched a podcast, I don't know anything about podcasts, I don't know what's even said on the podcast, so we're just going to wing this.
Well, why should today be any different?
Exactly. So, for those of you that don't know this familiar face, I am with Joe from the Miller Corner and Classics World YouTube channels. And we're just going to have a general chit chat probably about our car history and general bits and bobs like that. I don't really know.
Car madness and things we get up to and break and buy and regret.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this one. Let's roll the intro and we'll crack on. Rightio then. So here we are. We are doing our first, well, definitely my first podcast. And I really don't know where to go with this. So let's start with the very basics. Let's talk about car history.
Car history, yeah. I suppose if anyone's watched my channel, they'll know I started out with something a little bit unusual for first car. It was a Fiat Seicento, which it's not your typical, Fiesta EcoBoost on tick like everyone has. It's, it was all I could afford at the time to insure and all that, but it was something a bit different to a Fiesta, Corsa, all that sort of thing. And I wasn't sure if it was going to be a stopgap or quite what, would we want something, get a Golf GTI in a couple of years or whatever.
Yeah.
But I ended up really liking it, and I did a few little mods to it on my channel, things that just basically, paint your wheels and then do a vinyl bonnet stripe and that kind of thing. And it just sort of evolved from there. Because I loved driving it, and it was cheap to buy, cheap to run, did 45 onto the gallon, no matter how you drove it. It was dead reliable, despite what everyone says about Fiats. And yeah, I loved it, and it's just sort of evolved from there. And there's a whole story that I've done 100 times. So not to plug myself, but go and watch my channel for the whole saga of the Super Seicentos. It's become known, but it's now a proper project car, I guess. It's had an engine swap, it's got custom suspension, it's got different wheels, it's been resprayed, fully custom interior now. We'll go through this the other day. Yeah. A Yobbo exhaust. It's just my vision of a great fun little B-row basher machine. I've still got that. I've owned a couple of other cars. I had a modern Fiat Punto, which I speak no more of. I had an Alfa GTV, which I was hoping that was going to be great. I'm a big fan of Italian cars, and I bought that as a lockdown project and tarted it up, and that was a cheap project car. I did a bit to it, did some paint work, and I feel like I did well by that car because it was kind of hanging on by a thread when I got it, and turned it around. And I gave it a new life, but it was because it was an Alfa. It was always broken, and when it wasn't broken, it wasn't giving back enough for me to make me love it. So, and I know you've been in the same boat.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Over 15 I've had.
Volvo. But, so that came and went. I've had a Mark III MR2, which was a Classics World car that blew the second engine. I bought it, put another engine in it. That's gone on to a new home. I've got a Mercedes W123. If you're watching 123, if you're listening, because podcast, it's the big 80s Merc, the big 3-box saloon you'll sort of probably picture. I just love it. It's just a big barge. It's not fast by any means. It's sort of 0 to 60 eventually.
Yeah.
But it's great. It's just a proper classic cruiser. Drive along one arm on the window, and it's lovely. So I've got a proper eclectic taste, I guess. But a bit like you, from your sort of range of Jap, German, Swedish, everything else you've ended up with.
Yeah. So obviously my channel, again, sort of started on a similar thing to Joe's channel. Really, I started off with a Yaris T Sport, as you guys well know. Bit of an oddball one, same as the Seicento. You don't really hear very much of them. With my first one, I tried to modify it, but epically failed.
You always do when you're 17.
Yeah, pretty much. Obviously, my modifications went as far as a shit ton of stickers, and that's about it.
that's 10 horsepower per sticker, though.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It was the fastest Yaris T Sport ever.
Yeah. So, but I was working on an apprenticeship wage, which, for those of you that are in the UK, is nothing, pretty much. So that's sort of where I evolved from, and then I thought, nah, screw that. We'll get a bit of a turbo project because I could afford one, and that was a Colt Caesar T. For those of you again that followed my channel, and that was a humongous mistake in itself. Again, I'm not going to go, rattle off the whole story about it. It's all throughout the channel.
There's playlists. Go and watch videos on the channel.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm doing your way. This is your channel. You'd be saying all that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there are playlists of every car I've had. And you can even find it, like, if it's not really a direct video on the car, it'll be like in the vlog section, So, you know, I was like, oh, let's have a bit of a turbo project, and then I didn't like that, so I was like, no, go back to the grounds that I knew, got another Yaris. That was probably my one and only full-blown project car. Obviously, I've done like a fixer-upper and seller-honour, you know, the Audi, the Beamer. I attempted it with a Volvo, but that obviously went pear-shaped. The TT, which is currently sat outside, that's another flip car.
The Corolla, the T-Sport.
The T-Sport, I wanted to do a track build, a bit like the second Yaris. But when I was looking into like parts and stuff like that, I just really couldn't justify spending the money, especially because once I'd got used to the car and the novelty worn off with it, it was actually a very boring car. Now I've said that, I do really miss it at the same time. I miss like the sound of lift, I miss hitting lift and all that sort of stuff. So that was a bit of an oddball car in itself, because it was one of them cars where for the first 5 minutes it was really, really fun. And then like the novelty just wears off quite quickly and it becomes quite bland.
That happened with my Alpha, to be fair. It was every time I looked at it on the drive, even when it was in bits, and you go, oh, I own an Alpha. You know, and that's, as a guy who likes Italian cars, like that's so cool. And that one had a stainless pipe on it, so it lovely noise, and there's lovely Momo leather, and you go, oh, this is brilliant. I own an Alpha, and it was 750 quid. You know, such a special car for that money. And then you drive it, and it's like the steering's really heavy, and there's no acceleration to speak of, and the ride wasn't that great, and it did 20 to the gallon in town. He's like, it's not special enough. Your TT is a better all-rounder than my Alpha was, and it just isn't. We've been in the same boat with that, I guess, is that maybe the dream didn't live up to, or reality didn't live up to the dream. Yeah. And to make it, and all anyone ever told me with my Alpha was, should have bought the V6, you should have got the V6, you should have got the V6. Like, yeah, but they're $5 grand, and I don't have that, you know, so it's.
Maybe it's something to try in the future, though.
Maybe. If anyone's got a really cheap, cheap V6 Alpha, never mind. That's a terrible idea.
No, but yeah, going back to that Corolla though, like I would probably have another one, and I think I need to, even though I had it like what 10, 11 months, I think I had it. I had it just shy of a year, like all in. I think I need to give it a bit more of a fair chance. You know, build it up and sort of like make my visualised dream a reality with it.
This is it.
Maybe, you know, invest a bit more time into it, because I sort of started modifying it, and then as I was modifying it, the novelty just worn off, and I was like, just throwing good money after bad, really.
It can be a hard one with a project car, because it's like if either the mods on it are cheap, or you've got the money that you can just constantly keep playing, right, next time we do X and Y and Z and keep it going, you can keep the momentum up. Yeah. And that's sort of what I have with the Fiat, because most of the things on that are cheap, generally you can keep the momentum rolling. And I've had the car 7 years now.
Yeah.
But generally we've kept it moving.
Yeah.
Whereas with the Alpha, it was like there's not anything I could do to it cheap that would make it more of what I wanted. You know, like even a light and flywheel was like 700-800 quid.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like, that's a lot of money, and your engine out and all that kind of business. So that's kind of where you come back to love of the cheap small cars like your Yaris and stuff. You know, it's ultimately, you're not going as fast as everyone else, but it's like, well, so we're on. So can we reveal where we are, what we're doing, like where we are as we film this?
Yeah, because this will come after the video.
Yeah, so we're on our Nürburgring adventure. We've both done videos of it. Zach will come out before me because he's better at editing. But there's all kinds of cars in this trip. There's guys in this trip in like modified, like Graham, his RS4 for example. You know, if you've got the money that you can keep modifying something like that, that's great. For you, right? We can't even afford to buy a car like that. Let alone, you know, you'd have to get a mortgage to buy the thing, and then you're not be able to modify it. And it's sort of, it can be hard to keep the momentum with it. So that brings you back to your roots of something like your Yaris, because it's cheap to get into, cheap to have fun with, which is sort of what cars are all about, really.
Yeah, I mean, until you start looking at specialised parts, as you guys would well know from my channel, you know, like my crystal LED tail lights, very hard to come by, stuff like that. Until you start looking into them premium parts, it is just very much the same, you know. Suspension, relatively inexpensive, even though mine came with it. I did a custom exhaust in the end, but I still had the RSR backbox to begin with. You know, once you do stuff like this, all these, even though they're generic racer mods, as people would call them if it's done to a Corsa or something, all of these mods add up, and they actually build a really sick car if you play them off properly. And
actually, it does. The thing is, and again, there's various YouTube videos about this and conversations on forums and whatever. There's nothing out there that says you have to build a unique car. Like my Fiat, you go to it, on the odd occasion you do see a club, because there are clubs for us with Seicentes. They're all yellow. They've broadly all got the same wheels, and we've got the same engine swap and the same. It's like everyone's like, yeah, but if we're all happy with them, and it's like, I know we all take the piss. It's like, oh, yeah, every Fiesta has got a pop and bang map and air rise and all the rest of it. And if you're just doing that to fit in, that's not. Don't be the same as everyone else. But if you like that, if you genuinely like that, then do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And, the fact is, take those generic mods, like you said, the wheels, coilovers, exhaust, a few little odds and sods. I mean, I've done loads to my Fiat, but you can boil it down to those few bits. I took it out on the Nürburgring today and had a cracking time. You know,
exactly.
I was on the limiter with it everywhere and throwing it around. This guy's going past me in, you know, V6 Honda Accord. You know, so I'm not going quickly, but I'm having a great time. And that's small, cheap, crappy, fun cars. Some of the best memories you can make with a car.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You can keep your M3s. Honestly, that's obviously what we said earlier on. If we won the lottery, you know, what millionaire, you know, money and object car would you have? And I said I'd still have a load of shit boxes. I don't know if you can beat that, but there'd just be more of them. You know, and that's sort of the point. But it would be an AMG GT.
The thing is as well though, you're mentioning having loads of cheap shit boxes. It keeps you busy.
Yeah.
Like,
not much.
Like even if you've got like a perfect runner, if money's no object and you've got loads of shit boxes, you've got loads of potential different builds. You could do drag racing builds, you know, track builds, stuff like that. And sometimes I think if you're starting off with a car that's cost you say 500 quid and you're building it up to be something special, it's well worth it, especially, you know, seeing the transformation and all the memories you make along the way. I mean, take Chloe Swift for example.
Great example.
That was a great example. I mean, you know, that was tired, that was knackered, it barely ran when we got it. We bodged it together so she could use it for work when the Fiesta died, and then obviously it's had an engine swap, we modified it, we started looking into the bodywork. Unfortunately, it got written off. But that was just a Swift, we picked it up for 300 quid. Yeah. If we was to return that back to factory state, which would have cost us quite a bit of money to do, it would be worth $2,000 on a good day. But even at them prices, like,
you can get into that.
It's an entry level car that you have so much range to do with.
You can make it. If you want to do a stance show car or a track car or just a fun little B-road bashing machine, you can do all that. And it obviously left enough of an impression on it, because we've been at the Nürburgring for a few days. We were still watching today, and there was 7 or 8 Swifts belting round because you can hire them cheaper than real. Every time one goes past, she's going, "Oh, there's a Swift, there's a Swift." It left enough of an impression on her that she wants to get another one, even after all that. You know, so
exactly.
It's great. I love it. And I think this is kind of the point. It's easy to keep chasing expensive cars, you know, and try and buy. I mean, I don't know about, you know, specific personal circumstances, but if I wanted to now, I could walk into a VW dealership and take out a finance package on a Golf R. You know, exactly. I've got a car that's faster than anything on the road, and I can do a DSG fart, and I've got all the posh interior. But I don't care, because I'm not gonna take the binnacle off my brand new Golf R and spray paint it in my garage, am I?
No.
Of course I'm not, and I'm not gonna get, you know, I'm not gonna hack about with the exhaust, and because you don't do that. So it's don't chase the next greatest thing. It's a cheap bit of fun. Yeah,
exactly. And like what you just said yourself, you can make some of the best memories in it. Like, take my Yaris for example. And look, we keep resorting back to these cars because that's how much of an impact they've had on our lives. Take my Yaris for example. I met so many friends with that. It helped me through mental health. It was the first car I built. It was the first car I did a track day with, obviously at Lyddon Hill. Yeah, it was only a sharty bit of fun that I was out on track for half hour for 2 sessions sort of thing. But if it wasn't for that car, if it wasn't for me building it, if it wasn't for me doing my research on it, and if it was, you know, something I was passionate about, I would not have had them experiences. And then since then, I've said to a few people, I said it to Graham, I said it to a couple of other people with it, even said it to Joe, said it to his partner Alice. You know, the cars that I've had since then have nowhere near left as much of an impact on me as that Yaris. I mean, you know, what did I get after that? I had an Accord Estate. I was like, oh, you know, entry-level VIP car, because I wanted a VIP type car.
They're cool.
And then, you know, it's a Honda, so the parts were expensive, and it's a car that I didn't really enjoy. It had a couple of issues looking into the parts to repair them. I mean, it was only simple stuff like top mounts and stuff. They're expensive, you pay a premium, and if it's a car you're not enthusiastic about, you ain't going to do it.
And ultimately, that's what it boils down to. It's kind of like, on paper, every car you've had since has been a nicer car. You know, your Honda and your Audi, and then you had the Volvo V50, and even the Corolla T Sport, you know, and your Audi TT. They're all nicer cars. They're more powerful, they're bigger, more luxurious, all the rest of it. But they haven't actually made you smile in the same way.
No, exactly.
And you know, I mean, look at my little Fiat. I've had it 7 years. I've built it up from the ground up with my dad on a budget.
And reshelled it.
Well, yeah, it was. I drove it to Poland. You know, had a mad meet with it. On the way back, got written off by a truck. So rather than, you know, my dad was like, "Oh, why don't you just bin it off and get a Fiesta ST?" I said, "No." So we're not done with it. We're not going to let it die. So we reshelled it and we resprayed it and we've done all this interior bits, and it's been in the bloody Nürburgring, you know, and all this kind of stuff. And it's been on. It's going to be on display at the NEC this year, you know, and all this kind of thing. And it's like, you wouldn't get that experience with a new Fiesta or a new Golf or whatever, or even with with a big expensive Audi, you know, and that kind of thing. And I think we were at the Nürburgring today, and we saw cars, but we saw those new AMG GTs built around, and we were all going, "Oh, it's amazing, love one." I would still, yeah, if you want to buy me one, Mercedes, hit me up. But equally, we were all looking. There was someone going around, you know, there's old Starlets and things like that, and you go, "Oh, what a legend!" You know, an E30 318 on its door handles, you know, and that kind of thing. You think it's
that's the pinnacle of motoring.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's like my granddad, who unfortunately isn't here anymore. He used to always say to my dad, like when he was working on his cars, because he bought loads of sheds. I mean, I never knew any of these sheds, but apparently he was always working on them and they was always breaking. He was like, "Oh, it's just a part of motoring, son." And it's like, well, for the average Joe, it ain't. It's an inconvenience. But for someone like us, where we take pride, take passion, you know, everything like that into a car, a downfall like that is a part of motoring. It's either going to be a learning curve, something you can do with your friends. I mean, I'm not mechanically minded at all.
No, I'm not.
And as you know by my videos, Graham does most of the work. I help out where I can. So anyone that comments on my videos saying, "Oh, you do fuck all," I do stuff in the background when it's not recording, because I can't do two things.
You can't film and do stuff, and I get accused of the same thing.
Yeah, and it's like as well, like a lot of the time when I'm with Graham, especially after work, he's messaged me during the day, so it's not even like, "Oh, bring the tripod, you know, set it up, time lapse, this, that, the other." It's a spur of the moment thing. Graham's like, "Oh, I've got this project in, do you want to come and film it after work?" You know, stuff like that. So whereas it looks like I don't do anything, in the background I'm always doing stuff. I mean, on the golf project, I didn't really touch very much of that at all, to be completely honest with you. But that's because it wasn't even anyone I knew's car. Like, I'm not going to fuck their car up, you know. But it's like, it was a learning curve. I was watching Graham do it, he was teaching me a couple of bits. I did get involved in a couple of things. I mean, the main thing I did, stupid as it sounds, was wire brush the calipers, you know, and freshen them up a bit. But it's like, it's all a learning curve.
It's all done a job for that car.
Yeah, exactly.
I had this thing, so my old Mercedes, they rot everywhere. They're mechanically bomb-proof, but they rot everywhere. So, and my one, by some bloody miracle, I've got one with basically no rot in it. And I have no idea how I managed that.
Yeah, exactly.
But so and I'm underneath it, and I'm rust-proofing it. So I've got this wire brush, and I'm under the car, and I'm covered in crap. There's 40 years of road crap on my face. And I slid out, and my girlfriend looks at me and goes, "You alright?" And I just looked and went, most normal people would be having fun on the weekend. You know, they'd be out going to a club, or they'd be out down the beach or whatever. And like you say, you're laying in a puddle of oil or a pile of mud or under seal or whatever. But you're learning something from it, and you've extended the life of that car. If you can come away and you've bettered it, you've improved the look of it, or you've made it drive better. Yeah. And you almost have to look at it that you're, even from a money point of view, you're investing in yourself as well as the car. Because it's like, if you go and spend 80 quid on a set of discs and pads, or £100, whatever, it's like, so okay, so you're down 100 quid and you're down 3 or 4 hours of your time. For a start, you've made the car stop better, so it's safer. But also, you've taught yourself how to do that. And that's and you've saved yourself the mechanic's labour and all that kind of thing. So it's worth far more than the sum of its parts. Not to mention, a lot of people would spend 100 quid on a night out. Yeah, exactly. But it's just, I suppose it's what your hobbies and your interests are all about, really. Like, you know, hello. We've been interrupted mid-recording. This might get cut out. I don't know yet. But yeah, we're just going to pretend that they're not in the background. It's Graham and Matt, you know, they're not here. They're not part of the podcast.
We've been taking photos of Porsches.
There you go. They're permanent Porsches. There you go. This is behind the
Porsche
scenes.
showrooms and stuff.
Oh, nice.
Just been past Mante and all that.
Oh, nice.
Pictures and then sort of silence.
That's
right, yeah.
Edit that out. Edit that out. Cut.
But again, you know, even this interruption, this huge inconvenience. If we wasn't into cars, going back to what we was talking about, we wouldn't be having this. And this is what being into cars is all about. You make friends along the way. You do memories. You do all sorts. I get stuck the amount, because of the job I do with classic cars. The amount of old cars I've driven into petrol stations, and people come up to me and go, "I haven't seen one of those in years, and I have one of those." And you stand and talk to people who are like twice my age or 3 times my age. It's like, "Oh, that Mark III Cortina we had," you know, they're going, "Oh, how long have you had it?" And, "Oh, well, it's not really mine," you know, but you have a conversation with someone who wouldn't even normally talk to you. Yeah, exactly. And it's a community thing. We've got a really nice little community on this trip, haven't we? You know, we have, definitely. We've got people who are down in 1,500 quid cars like ours, and people who are in brand new RS5s and RS3s. So it's like, well, you know, they're earning more in a week than what our cars are probably worth. But we're all still bonding over a love of cars. Yeah, we're having a good time, having a chat, and ultimately, whatever car you've got and whatever it means to you, it's the car community that matters the most. And but that's the thing. Sorry to interrupt, but that's the thing. The car community is phasing out. There's too many stereotypes. I mean, granted, I'm gonna hold my hands up here. I do roast some people, especially if they say something stupid. Like, if you say something stupid, you're just going to get a stupid response. I'm sorry. But, you know, like, there's so many judgmental people, like, oh, your car's the same as every other Golf on air ride, or whatever. And it's just like, why does that matter? Like, at the end of the day, the person who put air ride on a Golf initially, they've set a trend. It's not a fact of, oh, you're mimicking everyone to blend in or something like that. Some people do, granted. And if they do, they're the ones that get roasted.
For Instagram and that.
Yeah. But it's just like, if you're following the trend, you're following the trend. Like, there's no ifs, no buts, no nothing to it.
And that's not just cars, that's the same with anything. That's the same with trendy music or trendy clothes or whatever. And I think the best example with this with cars, and I'm nicked this from Mighty Car Mod, so I'm not gonna, this isn't my metaphor. But they said, if you went to someone's house, right, someone's mum baked you an apple pie, you wouldn't go, someone made an apple pie before. You're not the first person to make the apple pie, so I don't care. It's like, okay, would you like some? Well, yes, please. You know, it's like I didn't invent the apple pie, but I still like it, and that's the thing. Just because you don't have the most original, you know, you're not the only whatever. It's great if you can be, and you know, we were overtaken on Nürburgring by a Mini Clubman van with a bike engine in it or something yesterday.
Yeah,
like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
But equally, if your idea of a classic Mini is just you do a 1275 and put some Mini lights on it, well, thousands of people did it before you, but if you like it, then great, you know, and that sort of thing.
At the end of the day, you've got to think as well, there's different forms of builds and different budgets that come into these builds.
Yeah, we haven't all got a blank checkbook.
No, exactly. And it's just like, you know, if you want to do an OEM, I'm going to use the Mini as an example. If you want to do an OEM plus Mini, it is going to have super lights on it. It's probably going to be painted red or British Racing Green, and it's almost definitely going to have the Union Jack and the racing stripes on the bonnet.
Yeah.
It's not I can't think of anything. But then you'd add your unique touches. You know, I'm going to carbon fibre my bumpers or something like that.
I'm going to put a modern radio in it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and as long as you're, well, I wouldn't even say as long as you're not directly copying someone, because even if you are, what's the difference?
Who cares?
But if you're building it to your standard, you know, it looks presentable, it looks how you want it, just be fine with it.
And here's the other way of looking at it, right? There's a lot of people that, let's say you don't modify your cars, okay? Let's say you just buy cars. If on the Nürburgring today, I'll keep coming back to that because we're here and it's in our heads. There were 10 or 12 GT3 RSs going around. Apart from the colour, they're all exactly the same. They're the same car with the same exhaust, the same suspension and the same seats. And every single one of them is brilliant. And every single one of them, the owner and the driver loves it. And they're having a great time because it's a GT3 RS. You're not going to go up to the owner of that GT3 RS and go, yours is the same as his. Well, yeah, of course it is. They're all the same.
Yeah.
They've got the car they love. They just haven't had to... the car they want, they can just buy. It just happens that the car you and I want is one that we have to build. And if that means that it's the same as someone else's, then who cares? Because it's still the right thing. And that ultimately is what it boils down to. Person wanting, if you've improved it. If you are 17, you work at McDonald's like I was, and you know, I painted my wheels black, and then for the next 2 weeks I kept looking at my car out the window, just as, oh, that's so cool. And it's little things like that. So you have to. It depends what you want. I think is what it boils down to. If you've got in your head that you're going to build this internet breaking 1,000 horsepower build, if you've got the money and the time and the skill to do that, then great. But if you're working on £4.50, and that's not actually legal anymore, is it? If you're working on minimum wage,
slave trade.
Yeah, that was me when I was 70. That's how old we are. If you're working on minimum wage and all you've got is a £400 Clio and a Halford socket set, then scale it back a bit. Make a little basic track car. Take the seats out and get a little exhaust on it.
But you see, this is the thing, and I think this is what I was getting at. You know, me personally, when I think of building a car, I mean, obviously budget is a huge thing. But if you're going to go and rinse your couple of £100 you got spare on rattle cans, and to be quite frank, it may be something you wanted, and I don't know if I'm looking at this the right way or not. But if you're just going to go and rattle can your car, then to be fair, make it look hideous. You know, say you've got a red car and you've got luminous green grills, and it's like, why? That couple of £100, you could have done something like better with, that's maybe more people would appreciate. Because to me, to an extent, if you're ranting and raving about bogey green grills on your blue Fiesta or whatever, it's like, I don't know, I'm probably digging myself a hole here. Perhaps I should stop. Perhaps I might edit
the
this
comment
out.
section is already going to be a fire.
Yeah, no, I don't know where I'm going with this. It's been a long day. But essentially what I'm saying is, a lot of people, and I think this is why hate in general comes onto them and people get roasted, is because if you've got a couple of £100, a lot of people, or at least, you know, the minority of people is not going to go and spend a couple of £100 on rattle cans. They're going to buy like a set of wheels, a second-hand set of springs, you know, something that will benefit the car in a more productive way, I guess. And I think that's why people get roasted when they show off their rattle cam work. Don't get me wrong, like we've both said, it is up to you, and I'm not going to hate on your car personally because you've got bogey green grills and your blue Fiesta sort of thing, but it's just, I would have invested the money that you spent on them grills in something a bit different, and I think that's where the roasting side is.
That's the thing. I think reading between the lines there, I get what you're saying. Reading between the lines, just because someone else might not like what you've done doesn't mean you shouldn't do it.
No.
And be prepared that if you're going to post pictures of it online or make a YouTube video or whatever, for every well done, that looks great, you might get 2 or 3 that looks crap, why have you done that? Because I've had that. I've had all the in-betweeners car jokes, and I've had all the why don't you buy a proper car and when are you going to give a mum a car back and all that, you know, all that. You got to be prepared for that if that's what
to be fair as well though, like there is that humorous side of it, which I'm never going to criticise, because sometimes that's how you make friends. People take the mick out of you or your car or whatever, and you're like, actually, to be fair, you know, I see what you're doing long term, and don't always take a criticism or a nasty comment as hate and don't let it get you down, because I've done it before where I've laid into someone's car for some particular reason, they've responded back like saying sarky or whatever, and I'm like, actually that's quite funny, like you're a decent person, and I've became friends with that person. Like at the end of this is what I mean, like there's so many visions on the car scene in general nowadays that no one knows how to take it. I think that's why the car scene fizzles out a bit.
It's so hard to be different enough but not too different.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. There are people that don't want to be identical. You don't just want the same Mark 7 Golf R on air, right, with rotiform wheels or whatever. Yeah. But you also don't want some weird thing that no one's ever heard of and there's no parts for it and everyone goes, why would you put a PC Cruiser on air ride, you know, whatever. And I think that's the thing. Ultimately, you should do your own thing.
Definitely.
You will always find, like in life, let's forget cars for a minute, just talk about friends or people. You ultimately attract similar company.
Yeah.
In whatever way, whether you meet them at work or you meet them at a festival or whatever you do in your time, go to the bar, you always attract similar company. Do your own thing in the car game. You'll attract people with similar taste. The fact is, behind it all, we're all just into cars.
Yeah.
On this driveway in this house here, we've got a 330D, we've got a Fiat Seicento, we've got an Audi TT. Yeah. 3 totally different cars, totally different budgets, totally different uses. But all of us are getting on like a house on fire. You know, we're having a great time. And because we're all just into cars. So just do your own thing and you'll attract the same sort of company. And I think that's ultimately what you should aim to get out of it.
Yeah, and I think that's, even though I've probably gone over and round many, many houses with what I've said, that is ultimately what I'm trying to say. It's just, I suppose it's where, because with me, I'd fire a sarky comment or a stupid comment if it's hard to say. I'd do it if that could have been done better. I mean, I'm no perfectionist, I'm no handy-mandy person. But like I said, like if you've got 200 quid and you spent it on rattle cans instead of like a set of wheels or whatever, like that's what I mean. And maybe I don't know, maybe sometimes a sarky comment, not necessarily from me specifically or anyone in general, a sarky comment could lead on to, well, actually, you know, this is what I would have, and advice, you know, this is what I would have done. You've done this, alright, it's not to everyone's taste. I personally don't rate it, but, you know, you do you. And ultimately, that is what comes with anything in general, whether it's good or bad that anyone or myself say. But it's just like, you need that level of being able to have banter with someone and be able to offend them, but not to the extent they get upset. Yeah. But then to be able to flip that, make a friend, help them out, and be like, you know, like, that 200 quid investment on rattle cans was a bit of a shite idea. You know, if you want to go down the track route and your first thing is to worry about bodywork, you're wrong, because you're going to prank it, you're going to send it off into a gravel trap, you're going to chip your paint, and some dickhead in a GT3 RS is going to fling a stone up off of his sticky tyres and chip your paintwork, you know. Like, just make it rough and ready and then perfect it in the paint department after. You know, maybe that's sort of what you get.
Yeah, and I think that's ultimately what it boils down to. You've got to have the fun in your own way. Yeah. And if that means that you stretch your finances to the limit and you go and get a new Focus RS on finance, or whether that means you get a 300 quid Suzuki Swift and you swap the engine with your mates and you bash it around a track. Either way, you have a great time. And I think ultimately, that's what everyone's about. Yeah. I mean, even just in my taste, I've got a hard suspension, noisy little nugget car that's, you know, it's just for thrashing around. And I've got a big, lazy old classic Merc that's barely got enough power to get out of its own way.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
they both make me smile. They
Yeah.
both have a great time, and ultimately, I've got car friends because of both of them.
Yeah.
So that's it. I mean, the truth is, your car taste is all over the place. You look at all the cars you've had, and I'm sure any of you watching, unless you have literally had like the same car since you started driving, or variations thereof. You've had different stuff. Even if you're always Japanese, you might have divulged into a bit of German. You might have had an Italian car or something. You might have even had a British car, or American, whatever.
Yeah.
So we're all on different car journeys to get a bit Instagrammy. It doesn't matter. Do your own thing in your own way. And
yeah, exactly.
We could wrap it on for ages, but I think that sums up this podcast quite well, I reckon.
And I just want to say as well, for those of you that probably ran to the comments and hated on something I've said, because I know I'm going to get hated on for what I said.
Hey, I might.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. The stuff that I have said, I do take that myself. So if it's, if I do get stupid comments, and I'm like, all right, fair enough, sort of thing. So it's not like I'm dishing it out, can't take it back, sort of thing. I am one of them people. I will take it back. Or if I do get offended by it, I'll be like, all right, fair enough. Like, wasn't really, I just want you guys to know that I'm not just being a dick. Like, people can be a dick back to me. It's fine. I'm pretty chill with that sort of stuff. But okay, that's a bit of a rant and a rave about many different things. What about some funny car stories? Because I know obviously you working for Classics World, you've had a few that have.
I've had some funny ones. I've had some scary ones. I mean, I've had some that would get a lot of people in trouble. So I think I'll be light on the details. But all I'm going to say is one afternoon, Jag XJ6, 2 out of 6 cylinders, no idle, no brakes. Join up the dots yourself on that one.
And still had to make a happy review.
Yeah, still had to make a video out of it, which got decent views. So we'll call that a win. We've had cars break. We have all kinds of cheap project cars. We bought a cheap Bentley sight unseen in lockdown. We did 2 miles in it before it broke down. We've had cars crashed. We've had one car hit a horse at some point in the New Forest. MG midget, I think that was. All kinds of crazy stuff. I don't know. I'll be honest. We've gone up, down, and round the houses. I'm quite tired, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure I could tell a convincing story. I mean, the best one, I think, or not the best one, but an interesting one at least, was my first trip to Poland. Was where I'd gone all the way there on my own. Never driven in Europe before. Never been on the wrong side of the road before. In a car that was 2 weeks fresh of an engine swap. I was on my own completely. Drove all the way to Poland, made it there fine, had a great time, few day long car show festival, videos on my channel. And on the way back, I was at a junction, I'd gone a bit beyond the do not cross line waiting, and I was sideswiped by a truck. It completely wrote the car off, bent the front end round, and I was stuck there on my own, so it was kind of, I was there all day. The recovery service couldn't work out where I was there for 12 hours, I think, in all told, on my own. Parents were worried sick, all that kind of thing. And ultimately got the car recovered, but that was a hard one. I won't lie. That was a real.
Yeah, I think going back to car stories, I think my funniest car story, and it's one that you guys know on the channel if you've been following long enough, is back when I had the Colt CZT. I think that was probably my worst. At the time, it was my worst thing that could ever happen to me. But looking back at it, it was freaking hilarious, to be fair. So for those of you that don't know, and I'm just going to dumb this down very quickly because we got a few subjects to cover, I think, and I wanted to try and fit this in within an hour. I don't know how we're doing for time.
I think it's already gone over once.
What is it?
I think we've been going for nearly an hour, to be fair.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Go on, we'll make this the closing story. Go on, it's a big impressive one. Go on, roll.
So,
there's a lot of build up for this now.
So pretty much, obviously, I had the Colt Turbo. For those of you that don't know, it was a bit of a project. It was a bit of but it was my first car ever. Let's just say that. I bought it with no first gear. It was ropey as heck. It was on like 150,000 miles on, I think it was an 07 plate or something like that. No, it wasn't. It was a 55 because I remember the number plate read pissed off, which is what it made me. Yeah. So it was ropey. It was owned by a couple of chavs. It was driven all night pretty much to get to me because we was doing a car swap. Later did I find out it was actually in a police pursuit the night it was driven down.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, so it's a colourful history.
Yeah, colourful history. I only found that out about 2 years after I got rid of it.
Wow.
So that's brilliant.
Does that mean you were handling stolen goods? You
Oh,
could,
so
you
it
could, you
wasn't-
could go to prison
well-
for this. If you've never seen another video on his channel, you know why.
Well, no. To be fair, it wasn't stolen. I knew it wasn't stolen. Everything was in his name, so it was just they decided to get a bit right foot heavy and didn't stop. You know. So yeah. Anyway, I was driving into a really hilly area. For those of you that don't have local knowledge of Kent, there's a hilly area. It's called Chatham. My God, is it full of weirdos? Sorry if you live in Chatham, but you're a creep. It's one of them places where you wipe your feet on the way out. Let's just say that. So anyway, I was driving into Chatham with one of my ex-girlfriends, and we just wanted to go and have a mooch around, do shopping, nothing out of the norm. And I pulled up at this set of traffic lights, considering the fact that I'd driven about half an hour, 40 minutes like this. Pulled up at a set of traffic lights, which was the first time I'd stopped for a while, because I backlaned it all the way into the heart of Chatham. And I got overtaken by a humongous cloud of smoke. And I was also wondering why the cars behind me were about a mile back as well. I did 2 and 2 together when I parked up, but I got overtaken by a humongous cloud of smoke, and I was like, okay. Oh, pardon me, I wasn't like that. I was like, okay, my turbo's just blowing, brilliant. So anyway, I plodded it round to the car park I wanted to park in, which was on a hill in a multi-storey car park on the top level.
Worth remembering all these details.
Yeah. And I park up, and I'm like, alright, fine. I'll go and mooch around the shops, take my mind off the stuff, call recovery when I'm ready, because I think I did have breakdown cover. I can't remember. My breakdown cover history is a bit iffy. Sometimes I've had it, sometimes I haven't, and to be honest, I've never really needed to use it. So I was like, alright, I'll do that. Little did I know, as I got out of my car, I saw orange glowing by my rear wheel. Looked a bit closer, and said rear wheel, behind that, aka the brakes, were on fire. So basically, there was a common issue on them cars. I don't know if they resolved it with the rally art, but certainly the earlier CZT, it was a common issue that if you pulled the handbrake up too far, the safety device stops your car from rolling away. If you use that too much, it seizes the rear calipers on. So I didn't know that, and my calipers are seized on. Got that hot, and I didn't even realise whilst driving, got that hot that they actually caught fire. And I was like, well, I've got no water, I've got no fire extinguisher, and nothing to put it out with at all. I'm in the middle of this car park on the top level with no bastard around, which, ironically, as I was thinking that, some person turned up and was parking pretty much right next to me. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do? So at the time I was panicking, and it was like the worst day of my life. I was really scared. I was 18 at the time, and I was like, well, my life's over now, like, goodbye. So I was like, I really didn't know what to do. So I ran over to this woman who was parking her car. She had her child with her, probably just wanted a quiet afternoon, to be fair. But yeah, she was parking her car, and it's just me knocking on her window, shouting at her, like, my car's on fire, have you got water? And she's like, no, I ain't got any water. I was like, oh, fuck. And so I really didn't know what to do in this instance. And she was like, oh, but don't worry, I've got baby milk. I'm like, right, baby milk. So you want me to make your newborn child starve because my car's decided to be a bit of a spaz? Right, okay. Anyway, I didn't say this to her or anything like that. This is just, going around in my head. I'm like, I've been offered baby milk to put out a fire. I'm like, okay, cool. So I was like, alright, fine, that'll do. Just chuck it at me. So she got it for me, put it in me out. Well, put it in my hands, just chucked it at me because I was urgent. And I poured this poor kid's lunch all over my brakes to put it out. I felt sorry for the poor kid, and apparently I was reassured that there was other bottles for him. But I'm assuming I've dramatically reduced their shopping time in the great heart of Chatham. Oh, best place to go shopping, isn't it? Yeah, so that was pretty much the end of that. I put a set of brakes out of fire with baby milk. The drive to the garage that I called soon after doing this extracurricular activity was literally just at the bottom of the hill that I had to drive up to get to the parking spot.
Downhill, no brakes.
Yeah, downhill, no brakes, because I boiled the brake fluid. The very little pressure I had to just about stop me was right at the end of the pedal. I'm pretty sure it was my toes that were stopping me on the floor, to be fair. And my handbrake, and just Jesus looking over me, really, praying that I'm okay. But let me just say, that was probably the scariest and most, what word am I looking for? exhilarating. Is that a word?
Exhilarating is probably a word.
Yeah.
It's one of those stories that at the time you sort of think, how did I end up in this?
Yeah, exactly.
But as we come back to that's what a life of being into cars would get you.
Yeah.
But then I guess that could happen even if you're not into cars.
And that was probably about a 300-yard drive, and it was the most scariest thing I've ever done. And now I've driven on the wrong side of the road with a car that's not even configured in the right way for driving on the wrong side of the road. And that was less scary than driving with brakes on fire.
And even on the Nürburgring in the...
Yeah, exactly. And so that was my scary and funny story of, well, car life, I guess.
I think that sums it up perfectly. Is car life can get you into some pretty crazy situations.
And it can also make you meet a lot of amazing people.
Certainly can.
Yeah, you meet and great, you lose,
you win.
Yeah, exactly. And it's whoever sticks alongside you the most, whether they be someone that you pay to do mechanical work, Graham. No, I'm joking. He's way more than just a mechanic to me. He's the reason this channel's still going, to be fair. I'm not gonna lie. He keeps chucking ideas at me, getting me to film stuff. Not as in like you will do it or your head's going down the toilet sort of forcing.
Graham's actually controlling this channel. He actually does it.
No, but you know, he's been such an inspiration to myself personally as well. He's helped me get out of so many sticky situations and stuff. But you meet other people like that as well.
We met each other through a car meet.
Yeah, exactly.
We are doing a podcast together in the middle of Germany. You know,
exactly.
So
and
if you told me a year ago we'd have been doing this, you know, we didn't even know each other a year ago.
No, exactly. And it's just, if it wasn't for the car scene, which is very quickly fizzling out, none of this would happen. And I think it's a shame that the car scene's fizzling out.
You've got to do your thing to keep it alive, and I think that we've kind of come full circle in the podcast, I guess. Do your own thing. Don't be one of the reasons that the car scene does fizzle out. Do your bit to keep it alive. Whether that means that you buy your cheap car and you make a track car, or you start a club, or you start a YouTube channel that inspires people to build cars and watch along with you.
Yeah.
Do your own thing, keep the car scene alive, and maybe one day you too could have a YouTube channel where you do a podcast and you talk about it at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, exactly.
We're quite tired now.
Yeah,
Go on, do your outro. Go on, close.
And on a closing note, to be fair, it's also a shame to see loads of car meets and even car shows just shutting up shop now. I mean, down in my local area, there's nothing. There's the Hazard meet, and that's pretty much
a couple of others.
Yeah,
but no, it's.
Rewind the clock, you know, pre-COVID, and there was car meets every weekend, multiple car meets every weekend, and loads of stuff going on. And unfortunately, due to the police having to get involved with antisocial behaviour, it's just wiped a lot of them off the map. Now, don't get me wrong, I understand why antisocial behaviour happens at car meet. You know, you want to do a wheel spin, a bit of a skid to show off, but I think it's the fact that it's done in such a densely populated small area full of people and children. It puts people in danger. You know, doing a little tail flick, pulling out of the meet onto an empty main road. All right, fair enough, I can live with that. Doing a burnout in the middle of a meet where there's children, dogs,
everything.
You know, everything just around you. That's what kills it off.
No one's impressed by your pop and bang remap.
No, exactly.
No one cares if you slide your MX-5.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Mustang or M4.
But, you know, I don't know if you feel the same, but I go to a meet to socialise.
Yeah.
Or simply just to look at cars. Like, if I'm bored one evening, I'll go and just have a look at cars. Not necessarily talk to people, just to go and have a look, something to do.
Yeah.
So, a car meet, or even a car show, which I consider falling off the map as well, they can be a big thing, a big influence, especially to the younger generation just getting into the car scene. You know, these 17-year-olds with their first car, which is a 300 quid Clio or whatever. You know, it's such a big inspiration, and I've learned a lot and met a lot of people through it, and I just wish that sort of would carry on, but it looks like it's just not anymore.
Don't be the reason that car meets get killed off.
No.
Just, we, like it or not, with how much of a bad word petrolhead is these days, with everything, boy racers, everything going on in the media and politics and all that kind of stuff. Don't give the anti-car media any more ammunition.
No.
Don't be the reason why car meets are made illegal and it all has to go underground. It's not in a Need for Speed way. Just be. It sounds really pathetic, but if we have to be the ambassadors for the car scene, then do it. Represent it properly and build the car you want. Do what you want to do with it. And make some memories with it and do the right thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And
you just can't say it fairer. I mean, you ain't ever going to stop people from showing off, but just be vigilant and make sure you're doing it in a safe way. Like, we all like to see donuts, we all like to see burnouts, we all like to see slides, and we all like to hear a good exhaust clip. But just make sure that if you're doing that sort of stuff, it's where you can only harm yourself. Yourself is only to blame.
No one else's property.
No, exactly. I mean, I'm not going to say go ahead and light up the roads, you know. But it's just, everyone has the itch to do it every now and then. I still do now. I hit a nice bit of road, and granted, I speed down it. I should very much say Joey does the same in his Fiat.
If the police are watching, no, I don't.
But, you know, like, at the end of the day, you've got to make a judgment call of, is it safe to do so? Like, if you're on a completely empty stretch of road and you think, I could get up to 90 down here before having to, you know, take a spirited braking session and a bit of a turn, then do it. Just make sure that no one's about to harm pretty
Can you
much.
encourage people to do 90 on a public road? I'm not sure you can do that.
It's tired, but
Yeah.
basically the gist of it is, if you're going to act like a dick, just make sure you do it in a safe way. Whether that be on private property, a totally empty road, or something like that. Just make sure that, you know, it's with the right people, with the right crowd. If that, you know, you're with your mates, for example. Oh, look at my burnout mates, you know, whatever. Just make sure that you ain't going to harm people that don't want to be harmed by it.
You don't want to harm other people or the property, or on the wider scale of things, the scene itself.
No.
Don't create a news headline.
No, exactly. But
do the right thing and ultimately enjoy cars for what it's supposed to be.
exactly.
I hate to tell you, I'm out of tea, so I think we are going to have to
Oh, no.
wrap it up so I can get the kettle back on. Talk among yourselves.
Me too.
Right, I'm out of tea. Do your outro so I can get the kettle on. Go on.
Yeah, no worries. Right, so yeah, if you enjoyed this really random rant about, well, everything to do with cars, really,
the car scene, car
Yeah.
life.
yeah, then just drop a like on it. Like I said, we really didn't know where to go. That's why we stuttered a lot, stumbled a lot, and probably made a lot of balls ups that might even be edited out. I don't know, but you know, if you enjoyed this and it was a bit of a chill, then slap a like on it. Comment down below what you think of the car scene as well and stuff like that. Like, because to be fair, it is something that needs to be kept alive. It's more than just a group of people just with antisocial cars. It's a community. It's a friendship group. It's a whole lot more than just a bunch of doofuses in Asda car park on a Saturday night. You know, just do what you can to keep it alive. You know, are you one of these people that likes to attend car meets but can see them fizzle off the map? Is there anything we can do together?
Start a club, have
Yeah.
an Instagram thing, do a Facebook group, whatever you want to
Yeah,
do.
exactly. Just something that can keep that community alive. And
Comment
more-
below if there's anything we've missed out on. Is there
Yeah.
a club we need to join? Is there a meet we need to go to in the Kent area? Because we're
Yeah.
not going to travel very far. We have gone to Germany. We do travel quite far.
But also as well, like, most importantly, just keep it safe. Like I said, you're a car nut. You're gonna want to show off every now and then. You're gonna want to go on a spirited drive. Just make sure that you do it in the safest way possible. Honestly, like, because there ain't gonna be no stopping it. I don't care what anyone thinks, says, whatever. You are not gonna stop antisocial driving within people that are car enthusiasts, because we like to show off every now and then a little bit. We like to experience our cars and push them to our limits. But just make sure if it's done in a safe way, truthfully, because that's the main killer of the car scene now. People just do whatever, wherever, and it's all over social media. And that's what kills it all off. Word gets around too fast, news gets around too fast, and it makes it an unsafe and borderline toxic area. And that's why us car people get a bad name. And well, yeah, so
Have you started to do your outro and then done another like 10 minutes of podcast after the outro?
but yeah,
Subscribe, like, do the thing.
yeah, exactly.
YouTube channels, go and subscribe to him because he needs more followers. He deserves it because he's worked bloody hard this week. We've been off enjoying our time at the Nürburgring and he's been off filming stuff. So drop a like, subscribe, watch his videos.
I do try my hardest, and again, very quick side rant. I'll make this quick. I will make this quick.
I'm gonna go and put the kettle on.
I'm truthfully.
Thanks for watching. Bye.
I'm truthfully like fizzling out trying to do this now because the channel's been going as long as I've been driving, which is 6 years, and it's a hobby thing, and I want to share my experiences and stuff, but I just feel like it really hasn't gone very far. Like, I'm still just over 1,000 subs, but I do put effort, time, money, a lot of money. That's why I've gone through so many cars into trying to provide content for you guys. And like the car scene, I don't want it to fizzle out because I do enjoy doing it. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Leave your views down below. Yeah, I shall fire away. And
Thanks for watching.
yeah, exactly. See you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.
That was so stingy and cheesy.
Oh, nice one, mate.